Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 664th edition of the Feuerstein's Fire American Soccer Show. I'm your host, Daniel Feuerstein. I'll give you American perspective of our clubs, leagues, players, national team, and other fabulous moments. Get your daily reading from me and other writers over at Beyond the 90, at beyondthe90.substack.com, and local in the New York Red Bulls currently over at baddogsports.com. Chat room. Well, if there is a chat room, be live on YouTube. So go ahead and give me your thoughts there. And as we get ready to talk about everything in American soccer, there's something I like to talk about in my intro monologue that really, while I'm happy about it, I'm not happy about it. And it's really simple what happened. This past weekend, the Columbus Crew hosted Inter Miami over in Cleveland, Ohio, at First Energy Stadium, home of the Cleveland Browns. Now, many of you know, as well as I do, the Haslam family. They are the owners of the Columbus Crew and in Major League Soccer. They built Lower.com Field, and they also own the Cleveland Browns of the National Football League. And you see, seeing over 60,000 plus fans at an NFL stadium for a standalone Major League Soccer game was absolutely fantastic. Don't get me wrong. It was nice to see over 60,000 plus filling up that NFL stadium for a Major League Soccer match that involved, of course, we all know who it is, Lionel Messi. Now, I'm happy. I'm thrilled. I'm excited. It is absolutely fantastic. But instead, there's a problem. And this problem continues to show to me that what are we doing here, putting in these games that are Major League Soccer regular season games, and we keep putting them, or we keep going back into an NFL stadium for these games. Look, I understand for the U.S. men's national team, and I also understand if it's for the World Cup, CONCACAF's Gold Cup. I understand that these stadiums will be used by those entities to get the most out of their competitions. We all know the NFL stadiums will be the designations and the destinations for these high-profile World Cup matches, Gold Cup matches, and anything and everything that goes on with the game in this country. But I feel sad for every Columbus Crew supporter out there that had to make the trek to Cleveland just to see their hometown club play in a stadium that is owned by their owner, yet it is in a different city within the state of Ohio. Now, look, I don't know what the distance is from Columbus to Cleveland. I know Cincinnati, I believe, is closer to Columbus than Cleveland is, because of the fact I have been to Cincinnati, and my parents and I did the cross-country trek from New York long time ago, because my parents have their friends at the time living in Cincinnati. But still, though, if you wanted to make this move to the campus of Ohio State University, to the Horseshoe Stadium where their college football team plays in, okay, I can make that understanding. I can still make that assumption, saying you want to go back to where the Columbus Crew got started in Major League Soccer before they built historic Columbus Crew Stadium. I can understand that a little bit, because it's still within the confines and the city limits of Columbus, Ohio. But, for the Haslams, okay, I don't know. Do they want to sell the Crew? Do they want to bring now a Major League Soccer club to Cleveland? I don't know. I have no idea what they want to do. And if this was a standalone, this is my argument, and this has been my argument for a very, very long time. What is the point of building soccer-specific stadiums in our country if we're going to keep going back to the gigantic NFL, and college football stadiums for no reason, all for the one standoffish game of the year. Every time I hear the San Jose Earthquakes going to Stanford Stadium to play the Galaxy, they don't have it at PayPal Park. They have it at basically at the college football stadium for Stanford. Or in the League's Cup stupidity, they had the Quakes playing their home game against Guadalajara in Santa Clara at the home of the San Francisco 49ers at Levi's Stadium. That makes no sense. I understand it's, filling up the purses, but it makes no sense to me. We have stadiums built for the game now, and more stadiums are being built not only in Major League Soccer, USL Championship, USL League One, and we're also getting former minor league baseball stadiums becoming soccer stadiums like what AV Alta has done in Lancaster, California. And one of my guests later tonight, their club in the Ocean State, Rhode Island FC, they have now built their stadium. Their stadium is ready to go. It took them from last year to the beginning of this season in USL Championship. But then now they have a home for the game and for their club. No more borrowing college stadiums. No more borrowing NFL stadiums. No more using community fields. They have their own ground. That's what this idea of making this sport viable was supposed to be about. Stadiums for the game. And to not have Inter Miami playing against the Columbus Crew in a Major League Soccer regular season match at Lower.com Field was a travesty. An absolute travesty. I have said multiple times, for us to be a big boy league in MLS, for us to be Major League, not just in MLS, but in the USL leagues and in the NPSL and in NISA, we must have stadiums meant for the game in this country. And I don't care how big the capacity is. That's not the point. The point is the stadiums belong to the clubs that use them for home field advantages so that one day, and I understand USL is doing it now with promotion and relegation, but I want promotion and relegation across the board, not just in USL, not only in the MLS 2 leagues, not in the NISA leagues, but everywhere across the board from the top division all the way down. Because while USL, and I'm happy that they're doing it, but once again, folks, the point is this. We can't have promotion relegation in a closed league. It's got to be across the board from top to bottom. And U.S. Soccer has to put their foot down to make sure that what's going on. While once again, I'm happy that over 60,000 fans came to Cleveland Browns First Energy Stadium for the Crew versus Inter Miami match. It is still disappointing that that match had to be moved out of Lower.com Field and go to an NFL stadium in another city, even though it's still in the state of Ohio. It was in Cleveland and not in Columbus. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got a great show for you tonight, and we're going to go USL today, USL Championship all night tonight. My first guest, first time back on the new Feuerstein's Fire American Soccer Show. Not only is he a part of the USL show online, he also has his own Hammering Down podcast on the Birmingham Legion in USL Championship. Kaylor Hodges joins me, and finally, we see him live in person, and we can see each other through the video screen. Kaylor, welcome to the brand new For Your Seats Fire American Soccer Show. It's great to have you back on, and welcome, my friend.
It's always a blast to talk to you. It's great to actually see you. That's awesome. It's great
I
to be
know.
on, and I'm excited to chat.
It's great to have you on again. It's absolutely fun. Now, I have to ask you this, and uh, you have your cat there with you or no?
They are over there. They are freaking out over the storms that are happening
Oh,
outside. They do not
okay.
like the thunder, so
Okay.
they are staying far away from windows, being much safer than I am.
Okay. No, very good. At least you got the cats. That's all I know because I remember the time you found the stray that got into your truck and you were ready to keep them until,
Yep,
of course, you found out it was somebody else's. But I'm glad you and your wife got the pets
yep,
that you wanted. So that's always a positive thing.
yes.
They're always great companions.
Yeah, they are definitely. Yeah, that was what got us cats to begin with. We realized, hey, maybe we do want some pets, and yeah, we're rocking and rolling now.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about Birmingham Legion.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not a good start to the season, and sadly, Tommy Soehn was basically sacked. Has it been performance based? Has there been issues in the locker room? What were the reasons for Tommy Sohn's dismissal?
In the end, it was performance. I mean, he was somebody that they have built everything off the ground up with. He is someone that they've wanted to keep forever. They as long as Tommy wanted to coach, they wanted him to be the coach. And they continue to bring in talent after talent after talent. And while yes, you can pay good money for players, in the end, players don't want to come play for you if the locker room is bad. That's just the fact of the matter. And this has been coming. There were fans who had stopped renewing season tickets 2 years ago
Oh
based
wow.
off of Tommy Sohn's coaching and uh, just general being pragmatic as a coach, not really trying to go for wins. And when they did go for wins, it was in a weird way. And fans kind of gave up. And then a full year of a bad year, first time missing the playoffs, that was another nail. And then finally, they bring in this awesome talent of Ronaldo Damas, a Danny Trejo, not that one, and a Steven Turnbull, and they bring in this awesome talent on pretty cheap, two frees, and one purchase. It was affordable. It's some of the best offseason of the USL, and it didn't get a single win, and including a U.S. Open Cup loss. It was too much to overcome. I think that there are a lot of reasons why it now was the time. I think it was performance. I think there's a couple of off the field things, and I don't mean like bad decisions. His kids are graduating now from the local high schools, and like I think his last kid is graduating in a month. He what was really tying him to Birmingham is about to leave anyway. So it's like it felt like it was the right time for everybody in this case.
Yeah, sounds like it. And now you have your interim head coach in Erica Villa. What
Mhm.
has he done so far in the short time as interim head coach that maybe you can see the changes are not happening quickly, but obviously there has to be some sort of improvement going on currently.
Yeah, I mean, Eric has been around since legit day one. He actually has the first ever assist for the club. He played as a player. He got the first ever assist in club history. He's someone who knows what Birmingham is like when it's rocking. He's done it as a player. He's done it as a coach. Everybody that I've talked to has basically said that he just kind of brings a different energy. Even though he's been the assistant head coach, he kind of brings a different energy. Tactically, I'm not sure what differences there really are. It still mostly seems like what we've been seeing, a little bit more attacking focus, but you also bring in a new player of Sam McIlhatton, who that's a brand new player who's allowing players to get forward. So is that Eric or is that bringing in a new player? It's hard to tell. But in the end, I think a lot of it is just I think what Eric has done has just been kind of just a new head voice. And while he has been a voice, he hasn't been the voice. And I think it has just been something different for the players to hear.
Absolutely. Currently, the club's in ninth place, still early in the year.
Yep.
Plenty of time to fix things and get back over that playoff line. And once again, it's only been 6 matches played, 5 points altogether. Where do you think they're going to need, or who do you think they're going to need to rely on this roster right now to put them at least into a playoff position?
It's so hard to tell. I think that in the end, where you're going to be looking at is going to be this right-hand side of Pastor and Stephen Turnbull. Turnbull's only played in 2 matches. They paid money for him. You don't go out and get a transfer on a guy if you don't want to use him, right? And we've seen Tabor Preston. He's been good. He is a firecracker. He is a super sub in the end. He's as fast as can be, great dribbler, the person you want to put on when legs are tired. If Tyler Pastor can stay healthy, your 3-man front line of Trejo, Damas, and Pastor, it's the best in the league. There's no doubt about it. But if Pastor isn't healthy and you're relying on Preston, Preston's great, but there's only so much you can do to outpace somebody when teams realize if we just sit a little bit deeper, he can't outpace us. There's nowhere for him to go. And Legion don't have a way to break down defenses without Pastor possibly doing it. I think that's the player I'm going to circle immediately. The other one is going to be young Rami Zamuda, who is just 16 years old. He's getting real deal playing time. He's been with the youth national teams at pretty much every level. And if he can grow up fast, right, he's already been linked to Werder Bremen. He's someone who has a lot of eyes on him. If he can grow up fast and be a real deal center back partner for Fanuel Kavita or Jake Roof, I think that it's going to shore up a lot of defensive issues that they had in the past. Those are really the 2 or the 3 areas that I look at. Just the right-hand side of Turnbull and Pasher, and then young Amuda, I think are the ones that to keep an eye on.
No, very well said. And, ever since Birmingham Legion came into USL Championship, they have been one of the most exciting clubs that this league has had ever since they came in a long time ago, playing over, I believe it was at UAB's soccer stadium,
Yep.
and then you moved over to the Progressive Stadium where the college football team plays. And I mean, look, I'm still hoping that Birmingham Legion will have a stadium of their own and you don't have to worry about sharing it with UAB or I guess the UFL now, if there's still a Birmingham UFL team. Still, though, the excitement about Legion for me is, they represent the city very well. They represent the people of the city very well, including in the suburbs. What has this ownership group been for this club and for this city in your eyes?
I think that we have seen the ownership. It's always so hard because there's a lot of them that are just hands off, right? They invest money into the club, but you see they've brought in. I think the last time you and I talked was when Dominic Wilkins signed on as an owner. They've since brought in Chris Richards, who is a Birmingham native, but now of Crystal Palace U.S. Men's National Team fame, but he's a Birmingham native. They have guys who care about Birmingham. We're seeing a lot more pushes into the community recently this year. It seems like they have really taken more steps to be more community driven. Recently, they've started doing these Rooted or Built in Birmingham YouTube series, and it's been awesome where they talk to different people who do different things around the community. They have teachers, they have people who work in nature preservation, and they are just trying to reach fans who aren't fans, if that makes sense. They're not soccer people. They're just regular people who go to soccer matches, and they're trying to highlight those people. They've been doing a great job recently of community outreach, and they're doing what we've always wanted them to do, what we know they can do. It's been a massive improvement from that standpoint.
Now, I have to ask you this, and of course, we all know the big rave that it is, the USL now looking to bring in a first division league,
Yep.
slated for 2028 season, maybe 27, 28, depending on what happens. If MLS does decide to change their competition calendar, going from summer to spring instead of from winter into fall. And then, of course, they want to bring in promotion and relegation to all their professional divisions once the first division is firmly entrenched. Look, I'm not against promotion relegation. I just want to be clear with everyone. And I think you've heard me on my show in the
Yeah.
past. I'm not against promotion relegation. I want it. It has to come. But my main concern is that it's not about what MLS does, even though many people will say it is, but it's about what USL needs to do on the stadium front, because I still feel there needs to be more done to at least cement this idea for it to be a stranglehold in our country. I'm not worrying about the challenging the free market situation that my colleague Carter Krishnaiyer says. That's not my main concern. My main concern is I don't want to lose clubs for no reason. I
Yep.
would rather have everyone across the board be a part of it than just one section of the American soccer community. But still, though, your thoughts, please, and I'd like to know, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think we've seen pro rel be implemented before, and this is very niche, but that's why we do a soccer show, right? UWS, which is United Women's Soccer, they have pro rel for their leagues. It's a summer league only. It's the amateur women's league, and it was it's two division pro rel, right? And the best teams of the UWS 2 were promoted. As far as I understand, the really, really bad teams were relegated. If they also chose to be, they could also just pay the fee and stay in. It was kind of a half done pro rel. And a lot of people looked at it and said, that's a nice gimmick that makes you different than the other women's leagues. But what else are you doing? And while I liked a lot of stuff that UWS was doing, they were really looking at, people just called it a gimmick. It was just another gimmick. I think that one thing that the USL has going for it is it's already planning to be multi-tiered. It's more than two, it's three. In the end, for it to be quote unquote true pro rel, it does need to be open to everybody. Everybody has to have a chance. That said, it wasn't always that way in England. It wasn't always that way in other countries too. It initially started off with a closed system. They built up the infrastructure all those hundreds of years ago, or like 100 years ago. It was started off closed, and then they opened it up after it was stabilized. I think that's what the plan is, right? I think that is what they are trying to do. There have been talks about having an official, because despite what a lot of people think, the semi-pro is not the fourth tier. There is no fourth tier in American soccer. They want to start one that is purely regional, that is permanent. It is a permanent regional league that people can get promoted into USL League One, that they can go into the championship, into Division One. It's going to be called the Premier League. We can just go ahead and call it Premier League. But that's kind of the plan that I'm seeing. I think that it's a great idea if they can implement it. Here's my concerns. And this is the USL show side of me. Like, I have my people, I have the stuff that's going on. And the biggest thing that is an open secret, and by open secret, I mean, it's not a secret at all. The USLPA, the Players Association, they have a CBA. And if you're changing league structure, that is immediately a labor dispute, because that is changing workplace environments. They have to negotiate with the PA. Well, guess what? At the end of this year, the USL Championship CBA runs out. Are they going to run that CBA to Pro Rel, or to the first year of Pro Rel, or after that? They're going to have conversations. The players have all the leverage, because they can choose, we will not sign off on Pro Rel if you don't give us XYZ. And the USL might try to play hardball. They might not. We'll see. My biggest concern is that they are not going to excuse me.
Mhm.
They're not going to be very front foot thinking and presenting this to the players soon enough and getting on the right track with them soon enough. And I think that's where you might see some issues.
If you need to
I
get
think
water,
that's
go ahead.
yeah, I'm good. I think that's going to be your biggest bugaboo because the owners are on board. The U.S. Soccer Federation is on board now. Getting there, and from what I'm understanding, they're in active negotiations and figuring out how to restructure the standards to have more stadiums fit, right? Where you see places like Rhode Island technically doesn't fit. Rhode Island doesn't fit the first division standards. But if they can negotiate it to maybe get down to 12,000, do you know who also fits now? Detroit City, the crown jewel of USL for a lot of people and US soccer. Louisville City fits. They're going to be fine. Pittsburgh can expand up to 10,000 and maybe 12,000. Pittsburgh's another team that they want. There's a lot of teams that can go up to 12,000, and it seems like a coincidence until you see now Division One's available. I think that everything on the federation side is good to go. Everything on the owner side is good to go. All of that is fine. I think what you're going to be seeing is when it comes down to the USLPA, the CBA, when does this CBA last? When does it go to? And when will it run out? That's going to be your big problem.
No, I agree with you there. And I mean, like, like you've been saying now, it's a CBA situation as well, because if we are going, the lights are out by you. Um, Hope you can still hear me there, Kaylor. Your lights are out, or at least you're froze. Um, but all I can say is that we have an issue here, and it's more than just stadiums. It's pro rel, like you said. It's the players' union, and maybe you would like to think, maybe if MLS does come together, hopefully, uh, hopefully, maybe the two PAs will join together and be one whole thing. And it looks like Kaylor has frozen on us. And hopefully he'll get back in there as soon as possible. Let's see if I get an information from him. And so all I can say is that and it looks like we lost Kaylor, unfortunately. Well, thank you, Kaylor, for joining me tonight here from. Nope, there he is. Here we go, back on it. Good. You shut. I don't know what happened, man.
Lightning struck, power went out. It was a whole thing.
That's why I forgot. You told me you had a storm. But as I was saying, is this: is that you would like to think that if the USLPA and the MLSPA would join forces to at least come together and make this more viable, I think that would be a logical choice.
The player side is, I don't think you're going to have an issue with getting players necessarily to agree as one of the cats now joins.
Hello. That's fine. Let him join. He's good to go.
Yes, he is good. But players to agree you in the end, and this is true for the MLB, who loves to have lockouts. They do it every other year. They have so much fun doing it. The NFL has had their own lockouts. The NBA, I think, has only had the one. But, they have lockouts because in the end, billionaire lawyers are better than millionaire lawyers. Like, it's just the truth that they can try to combine. The PAs do not have the firepower on the law side that the owners do. I think that when you're looking at the USL, the discrepancy is a little bit less. But when you're looking at MLS and you're looking at multi billionaires, it's hard for me to see those two truly combining purely when you look at just monetary value alone of those lawyers.
No, I agree. I absolutely agree, and hopefully more will come this way. And like I said, I'm not against the idea. I want it to happen. I really believe we need it to happen. I just want to make sure that everything is lock, stock, and barreled so that we can be sure it's going to work for everybody. I always talk about this on my show. Of course, my colleague Carter Kirschneier from Beyond the 90. This is what I've always said. I don't know if you know the movie musical of 1776, talking about independence from from England. And John Hancock said, either we all walk together, or together we must stay where we are. When it comes to making sure they move forward, implementing independence against England. This is the same thing here. Either, for promotion relegation, either we all walk together or together we must stay where we are. It's just as simple as that, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, pro rel it intrigues people, right? It is so intriguing. I just want to ask people to go to YouTube, right? And if you put in pro rel, you're going to find people go into video games. They're going to look at college football 25. And there are so many video games of like we added promotion relegation of college football. The SEC gets relegated to Sunbelt. We did it in MLB, whatever, where we relegated people down to the minor leagues. And people love to add it in because there's intrigue. Talking about the USL show, we saw our biggest increase in viewership after promotion relegation was introduced, or the idea of it was even just talked about. And it wasn't even it's here. It's hey, we're openly talking about it now. Like it's not just an idea. We announced it. And we saw big growth on the USL show side where people are excited. People want to see it work. And I think that when you look at what the USL is doing, I think you can't turn around now. They've created too many fans. They've created too many eyeballs looking at them to make it happen. Where if in the end this stays a 3-tier thing, if that's all that happens, and teams, because this is what they're doing now, they're joining USL League 2, which is it's just the old PDL, Professional Development League. It's a summertime league. I know some people want to say that League 2 can promote. It can't. It's a summertime only league. But teams join USL League 2 to join League 1 in the championship. That One Knox is the prime example. They do it. If there are teams that want to go pro, they join USL League 2. And if that's all that becomes is we want to join promotion relegation, hey, join League 2, prove that you're sustainable for a couple of years, we'll let you in. It may be the closest thing we get.
Yep,
and that's
absolutely.
Okay because it's an improvement.
Yep, it really is. Kaylor, I appreciate you joining me tonight. Thanks again for coming on. Good luck with the rest of the season and hope to have you back on again very soon. You have a good night and stay safe with those storms, okay?
Appreciate it. Hey, you too, man.
All right, thank you. That's Kaylor Hodges from the Hammering Down podcast on Birmingham Legion, as well as a member of the USL show. My next guest coming from the Bay in Tampa, and he is a part of the, make sure I say this correctly, the RBLR Report for sports in the Tampa area. And this is Mr. James Knowles joining me tonight. James, good evening and welcome to the show.
Yeah, good evening. I am here to talk about the Rowdies, for better and worse.
Absolutely. And before we go ahead and talk about the Rowdies, just RBLR, for those fans that are not familiar with what it stands for, please let us know.
Yeah, RBLR Sports covers all the teams, all the professional teams, I should say, in the Tampa Bay area. So that's Rowdies, Bucks, Lightning, and Rays. And then obviously we have included a new podcast recently to cover the Tampa Bay Sun. There just is no S because they came after the name was already created. So RBLR Sports plus the Sun, and yeah, so that's our podcast network. If you would like to get a little bit more focused news, I guess.
Absolutely. James does cover the Tampa Bay Rowdies, and of course, they came off of a huge penalty kick shootout victory over FC Naples in the Open Cup in the third round over in Naples, Florida. And I gotta say, That was a very fun match. Naples, a very tough customer, and they really looked like they were going to take it. But I give the Rowdies credit. They really, really stood strong defensively, and they had some great moments there to keep the match level and forcing the penalty kick shootout.
Yeah, I'm sure it was fun from a neutral perspective. Us being up in the stands who were wearing the Rowdies colors. I'm sure also the people in the stands wearing the Naples colors were not having the exact same, or not having the same emotions there. It was a difficult game, especially for us. Anybody who knows anything about the Rowdies right now knows that we're going through a tough spell. Obviously, we have gotten rid of our manager who started the season, and this would have been his second year. He started before the 2024 campaign. So, yeah, it's been rough going. We ultimately brought in an assistant manager who was previously with Loudoun United, very interestingly, and he has taken over at least as the permanent interim manager. So he will be here through 2025 unless something happens that is completely unforeseen at this moment. And who can say what that would be, of course. But in the meantime, he will handle things. And former player Jan Ekra has also come in as an assistant. And we're in the midst of trying to figure out exactly what type of team we're going to be with the roster that we have. Luckily, there have been 2 recent additions, 2 academy players. We're not going to see a lot of them, I'm certain, but we just honestly needed the depth in the attacking side of the field. So for anybody who watched the Naples game, I think that it looked to me, certainly, I don't know how many other people were aware, but we had 3 players out with injuries who could have been starters for this team and could have even changed the formation of the team. So ultimately, when you consider that, we really didn't have a lot of depth, and I think we only made 3 substitutions. It might have been 4, but the point is that we did not get through this game without really digging really deep. And like you said, going to penalties, and even there we had to dig really deep. It took us all the way to the 10th round of penalties before somebody had missed again. So yeah, it was a long night, and it showed in a lot of ways where the Rowdies are, both in terms of their progress or lack of progress, and the places on the field that we need to fill. And again, that goes down to our lack of depth, partly due to injuries, but of course, every team deals with injuries every year. So we knew that was going to be a problem, and building around it is generally something that the Rowdies struggle with, because we usually have a smallish roster, but we're already seeing the effects of it, even this early on in April.
Yeah, very true. As you said, you had Robbie Nielson starting last season, going into the start of this season. Then all of a sudden, after match number 4, that was it. It was over. Were there problems during last year before the sacking happened 4 games in, or this is just a brand new situation?
It was a very interesting season last year for a lot of different reasons. 2024 started out relatively good for the Rowdies, and I think that we were even doing very well through the summer. We had a relatively customary spell of several wins in a row, because the summer months get very hot. People coming down to Florida, especially, I think, struggle with the heat. I struggle with the heat as a Floridian, so I can understand people who have to go out there and run for 90 minutes. It can only be as awful as you can imagine. But it's a relatively good season up until specifically August, and I don't know exactly where it came along here. Maybe we're going to learn more in the future, but around August, our results just took a turn for the worse, and we really, really started going downward. I think that we were up in 3rd place in the playoff race, and we were looking to possibly overtake second. I think first was pretty much out of the question. They were Charleston Battery last year, but we still had an eye on Louisville City. So August, like I said, then it goes the complete opposite direction. We end up barely clinging to our playoff spot, and I think finishing 7th overall, but very close to 8th. Very close to being right out of the playoffs. And within that spell, we had 1 win against Pittsburgh. Then we have 2 hurricanes that displace us from our usual stadium. Obviously, that's another big problem to deal with. And we ended up playing a home game in North Carolina, which is very interesting for us, and then 2 home games down in Bradenton, Florida, at the IMG Academy, where the national team has held a lot of practices. It's a very good training area, and a lot of teams have done it. You probably don't want to host down there, and I think that the Rowdies probably suffered for a lack of audience. I think that we really only filled it for the second game, which was on a Saturday. The first one was on a Wednesday at IMG, and it was relatively empty. But still, it's just a hard place to get the same level of intensity, I feel. So yeah, we finished with the 1 win versus Pittsburgh, and then the very last game we beat Indy. So those were our 2 wins in roughly three full months to end the season. And obviously that is not where Rowdies fans expect the team to be. It was very interesting as well, because all across the season we had very good numbers in terms of our chance creation. But then the execution of those chances is obviously where it counts on the field. And that was not where we could actually get anything. We were not scoring a ton of goals, and we were not getting a lot of results. Ultimately, that turned into a lot of points. So it always seemed like the Rowdies were capable of taking this next step, and then they never did. And I suppose that at a certain point over either possibly the offseason, but definitely this first month of the season, when the Rowdies really weren't starting to turn that corner again, the front office staff decided that this was too much and that they needed to make a change. So they ultimately did work to make that change, and they didn't necessarily have somebody lined up to take over after Robbie Nielson. That's probably not very common anyway. We've seen that even in Man United, they don't have somebody lined up necessarily. So yeah, it's just been a process, like I said, of trying to figure out what the next best step is here, because I think that we have a relatively good roster when the full roster is here. And even without that, we still have a pretty good team ready to go. But putting them in a position to succeed has so far been pretty elusive. And that is, again, a continuation from 2024, where we were still having all of these good numbers, but couldn't really get it done. And then this season, I think even those good chances, our XG, so to speak, even that has fallen off a little bit. So yeah, we've switched to formation, and I assume that we're going to see 1 or 2 more formational switches along the way, because we're still not getting the most out of the players that we have out there. And at the moment, we're running a couple of those players kind of ragged. It's early, and I feel like I'm already seeing the signs of that. So problems are showing up here and there that we need to work out.
No offense to the analytic geeks, but I don't believe in XGs. If the ball's not in the back of the net, it don't count.
There you go, and that's how the Rowdies have kind of fallen apart. It's exactly that.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, you're currently 11th place, 6 games played, only 3 points. But like you said, there's plenty of room to grow, and there's plenty of room to improve. And you've already seen the improvements right now, and it looks like Steve Coleman has done a pretty good job. What changes do you think he's done tactically, formation-wise? Where have you seen the improvements so far? What you've seen so far in the short period of time?
Yeah, so for the last maybe 5 or so seasons, not all of which are obviously under Robbie Nielson, but for the last 5 or so seasons, I think we've mostly played with 3 at the back, 2 wing backs, and then roughly 3 up top, with people changing position, of course. But you could call it a 3-4-3. And right before Robbie Nielson left, I think this was mostly due to injuries, but we moved to 4 at the back. So give or take a 4-4-2. And we've actually stuck with that for the last couple of games. So I think that we're probably going to stick with 4 at the back. The interesting thing about that is all of the depth that we have, because again, this is a smaller roster compared to most of the USL teams, all of the depth that we have is at the back. We actually have a lot more players defensively, because I assume the squad building was with a 3-man back line in mind. And so it changes relatively quickly now that we have this system of 4 at the back. And I'm pretty sure this is what we're going to see moving forward. So that's something that we're going to need to shift into a little bit more. But the other thing that I think Steve Coleman is I guess, a little bit more known for, and I think that it's also something that we have seen in fits and spurts, because it's still early days, of course, but there was at times a problem of intensity with the Rowdies' play in 2024. I think that many people noted this, and I was certainly one of them. My co-host Carlos mentioned this a number of times, but there was a lack of intensity over the course of games, and certainly for a full 90 minutes, we were not able to maintain that. Now, like I said, we haven't quite hit that level at this point, but I think that we have seen a lot more intensity in games so far under Steve Coleman's reign. It's very, very early. Possibly this is that new coach bump that everybody talks about, who can say? But if he's got the motivational skills to get everybody kind of pulling in the same direction and also with the same intensity, I think that would honestly give us a big boost here, because there were games that we just did not see out because we started to slump, and it wasn't a slump like put our heads down and whatever. It was just that we weren't matching the other team at the speed that they were playing. So if another team is just playing a lot more quickly than we are, of course they're going to be able to overtake us. And I think that if we can at the very least match them out there, then we're going to have a better chance. And I think that we're doing that better so far. It's an improvement there, but the other issue is just finding the right formation for everybody out there. I talked a little bit previously about how we're running a couple players ragged. Those two players that come to mind most specifically are our two forwards, Manuel Arteaga and Wubens Pacius, two great strikers in the USL over the course of several years for Arteaga, and very, very early signs are great for Wubens Pacius. But so far, they've started every game. They've played the 90 minutes in several of those games, and that's just not something that we can't ask them to do that for months on end over the course of a season, and especially playing in Florida. I think that makes it even worse. So we're going to have to change the formation so that they are not starting every single game together and playing 90 minutes as frequently as they have been. But I don't know what that's going to look like so far. I think we have the pieces to play a 4-2-3-1. I think we have the pieces to play a 4-3-3, which are relatively similar formations anyway. But yeah, it's just a process of finding what works best for the available players, because there's going to be injury problems, and hopefully the ones that are out right now will be back quickly. But we know down the line we're going to face something similar all the time.
No, absolutely. And hopefully things get better. And you're going to be hosting that fourth round matchup against, dare I say it, Orlando City of Major League Soccer at Al Lang. Everyone's getting ready for that one, I bet.
Yeah, that is a big one. Anybody who's unaware, Orlando City was previously also in the USL system, and the Rowdies were over in the NASL at the time. And I guess the NASL is defunct at this point, but we had not moved over to USL. Regardless, we played Orlando City close to 10 times. I don't think it was 10 specifically, but every one of those games turned into some type of fiasco. There were games in Orlando and games in Tampa. I think there were even games elsewhere because some of them were preseason games, but all of them turned into some type of fiasco with a lot of back and forth on the field, to be sure, but also a lot of stuff off the field. I don't want to say that it was all Orlando City fans, but I will say that there is a lot more of a reputation even amongst MLS fans for Orlando City supporters specifically. I can say, as somebody who went to an Orlando City game wearing Rowdies gear during an Open Cup game, 2022, maybe 21 or 22, somebody stole the hat off my head. So that was interesting. And, that's, I guess, if that's the most that it comes to, I really don't think it's that bad. But in prior instances of, I think it was another Open Cup game between Orlando City and Tampa Bay, there were several arrests of Orlando City supporters because they were keying cars and graffitiing people's property in the parking lot. That's not acceptable. That's not acceptable, of course. So there is a reputation amongst Orlando City fans. I will say from my end, I think it's relatively deserved. And there is, of course, at this point in the game, no love lost between these two cities. I think that anybody who has grown up in Tampa, probably the same for anybody who's grown up in Orlando, can't speak to that specifically. But there is definitely a superiority-inferiority complex between the both of them for multiple different reasons. And it comes out on and off the field in ways that are probably going to just continue into the future. There will be some number of Orlando City fans at this game, I'm sure. But I'm expecting them to keep us separated because that's what happened when Orlando City hosted the Rowdies a couple years ago at that game that I was talking about. So we'll see how it plays out. It's definitely we do know one thing is for sure. It's going to be a heated game, and whatever happens on the field, I'm hopeful personally, as someone who will be there, that it doesn't make its way into the stands or again into the parking lot. Let's avoid the parking lot, the bars, the field, the streets of St. Pete. Let's keep that clean. That's a reasonable request, I feel.
And I'm no stranger to it technically because I've seen it in front of me. Arena Football League, the war on I-4, Tampa Bay Storm, Orlando Predators. I've seen it firsthand myself. It's nothing to mess around with for sure, and that's why it spilled into the soccer department. But James, thank you for joining me tonight. Real quick, just tell everybody where they can log on to read your articles and the rest of you from your team at RBLR Sports, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So all I do the writing for the Rowdies, I do the writing for the Sun, and then I do the podcast for the Rowdies as well. I will also help out when the Sun have an interview. I will often be on that for their podcast. So if you want to catch all of that, if you want to hear about any of the stuff that we do, we are at RBLR Sports, and it is at RBLR Sports on all the social media handles. Our producer Eureka is great about that. He is very active in making sure that everything that we put out there goes out to everybody on every social media platform that we have an account for. So yeah, if you are on Instagram, Twitter, whatever, even TikTok, Blue Sky, Threads, we are on all of those at RBLR Sports.
Absolutely. James, as always, thank you very much for joining me tonight. Hope to have you on again as much as I can and hope that you're available and talk to you again next time. Good luck with the Rowdies this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. James Knowles from RBLRsports.com. And now, ladies and gentlemen, this was an edition which I'm very glad to do because I owed him and everyone over in Rhode Island, especially in the Providence and Pawtucket areas, wanted to have him on originally to finish off my era of Blog Talk Radio. Unfortunately, the connection to the switchboard died on me multiple times. So I'm glad to have him on now. He is a member of the supporters group. I believe it's, and he can help me fix that if I make the mistake. I know they're called the Defiance of 1869 or is it 1931? I forget, but this is Kevin Callahan from the Defiance supporters group. And Kevin, if I make the mistake, you go ahead and correct me. It's all right.
Sure. Can you hear me?
I hear you loud and clear.
Great. Wonderful. Yeah. So it's the Defiance 1636.
Thank you.
I am a paying member. I was pretty active early on to get that supporter group off the ground. I'm not very attached to the supporter group. I sit, I'm pretty casual about my supporter activity, if you will, now. But they do a phenomenal job. I think nobody in the league does it quite as big and as good as the good folks at Defiance 1636. And I think the supporter culture that's being built in Rhode Island is something that's going to be looked at as a model for other clubs that come to this league and want to get excited about their communities bringing soccer. So it's exciting stuff.
It really, really is. And last year, I really want to talk about last year first because last year was just a miracle. Last year was phenomenal. Just to see all of a sudden, I don't know, the light switch, it clicked on, screwed in a light bulb somewhere, and Rhode Island goes on a masterful, magical run to the USL Championship final. And you're beating all these teams in the Eastern Conference, and you have to make the long trek to Colorado Springs, Colorado, to take on the Switchbacks. And even though you fell 3-0, there's nothing you can take away from that performance and that season. What has been the magic of this club that, gives you the hope that sooner rather than later, that championship title is coming?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's kind of a Cinderella story, right? It's your inaugural season. You're playing at a college stadium. You don't own the stadium. You're leasing out. The front office and the folks involved did a phenomenal job creating an authentic stadium feel. I think the supporters, the real diehards, the casuals, they they knew early on that the team was special. We had a hard time turning those draws into wins and getting points and get ahead in the season. But if you looked at the talent on the team individually, it was there. But when you put together all these new players and it's your first season playing together, brand new coach, playing in a new place, it takes a while to gel. And in watching them week in and week out, you slowly started to see the pieces coming together. And when we got into the heat of the summer, we went on a run. I want to say it was like 8 games where we were unbeaten. And we knew then that this team was something special. And that I think the most important thing is we weren't losing. Like, we were drawing games against teams that were very, very good teams and perennial powerhouses in this USL Championship League. And once we were able to start turning those draws into 3 points, I mean, we got pretty bullish towards the end of the season that we were going to even make it into that top 4 and get a home playoff match. We just missed, but, you know, what a story. I mean, you couldn't write a better story. The only thing that would have made it better is if we had started at Tidewater Landing, which is going to be a beautiful, as you mentioned, soccer-specific stadium on the banks of Pawtucket River in downtown Pawtucket. It's great for the community. It's great. It's going to bring in jobs. It's going to be an epicenter of entertainment in Rhode Island.
What was the feeling from your congressman representing Congress in Washington, D.C. to go to the floor and just, honoring the club, honoring what they did for the state, what they've done for not just for Pawtucket, but for Providence and all the other small towns and cities in the state of Rhode Island, to basically take the flag of the state and just march it down the pitch and getting into that final. What was it like to see your congressman representing your state at the Capitol, on the floor, just to recognize the accomplishments of the club?
Yeah, so Rhode Island is a really proud group of people, very hard-nosed, blue-collar, hard-working folk, right? And it's the smallest state in the country, and it's almost like everything we do, there's a chip on our shoulder, right? So there's a little bit of a bravado in that. It's like, yeah, we're the small state, but look at what we're doing. Here we are, we've arrived. This is what this team is doing in year 1. Just watch what we do in the years to follow. And it's been a little bit of a rocky start this season, but I don't count us out. That's for damn sure.
No, absolutely. And Connor Smith, what he was able to do last year was just phenomenal. And to like I said, he flipped the switch somehow, and just to see them get there and up to this point, I know it's early right now. You're currently in 10th. You've only played 5 matches so far. You have 4 points. And it's not that because, I picked Birmingham, you guys, and Tampa today to talk about because you're on the bottom end of the standings or anything like that. But I really wanted to honor Rhode Island for, their big run last year. And I really wanted to do that last year. And I don't have to rehash the whole thing. Everybody knows what happened. But, look, I mean, I'm not going to count Rhode Island out. I'm not going to count their club out. I'm not going to count Connor Smith out, because I bet you he's got something working in the, somewhere in his office. He's probably changing up the tactics. He's probably changing up the formation. He's going to change things around like he happened last time, and off you go.
I think so. For Kano, what we've seen since game really 1 of our first season is his tactics and his vision on the style of football that we're going to play really hasn't changed too much. We're very comfortable when we're not in possession, and we're really, really good at playing in transition. we have some injuries that aren't great right now, and we're working around that. But I think the system that Kano has in place, in the heavy midfield presence that this team has, things are going to click soon. We got a bunch of home games coming. Being in that home stadium, it's going to add a whole nother element to it. I think things are going to turn around, and we're gonna really turn things up, and you'll see us climb the ladder here pretty quickly. There's no doubt in my mind.
Very true. Now, I have to ask you, of course, finally, round 3 of the U.S. Open Cup, you went over to Portland, Maine. You took on Hearts of Pine. You got a 2-1 victory to advance to the next round. Before we talk about that opponent, you know, I have to say that the New England region, there's a lot of talk going on. It doesn't matter if it's in Connecticut. You represent Connecticut, Massachusetts, Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts. All the New England regional states have something to say. And if it wasn't that second round match between Portland and Hartford that really didn't get your attention, this one between Rhode Island and Portland was unbelievable. And that was just tremendous. 2 goals within 3 minutes. Rolstad and the Mask, I think it is.
Holstead and Frank Nadarse.
Nadarse, thank you. Frank Nadarse. I just knew it. I'll get it right, I promise. But yeah, Holstad and Nadarse. And then, of course, you get that other goal by Portland that makes it 2-1. And, you're hoping it doesn't go into extra time if they get the equalizer. But just talk about the real talk that goes on in New England with all the states.
Yeah, sure. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. It's why there's no. It's why I'm not the favorite among the content creators in Rhode Island. There's no. I don't really mix words about it. Hartford. They're in the basement of the league, and that's fine. There's a lot of trash talk towards the Hartford fans because it's Hartford, and people. I just hate Connecticut. I hate Connecticut long before it was relevant for sports. I hate it for traffic. I don't think there's anything good there. It's like just the place in between where you really want to be, which is New England and New York. It's just in the way. And then, of course, you have up the road the New England Revolution, whom I was a great supporter of since 1996 all the way up until 2009. But time and time again, the ownership group in the Crafts just making promises, breaking promises, have so many opportunities to make soccer-specific stadiums, bring a true fan experience to the Major League Soccer for the New Englanders. They just don't ever do it. The whole thing with Bruce Arena, really ugly stuff. And now look at how good he's doing out west. It's just...
I know. Listen, I never doubt Bruce in my entire life. Look, I had him at the Red Bulls.
Greatest coach in MLS history, if you ask
me. Exactly. There's nothing more, nothing less. I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't know why that happened. And even I had to question how Richie Williams also all of a sudden came out of nowhere and backstabbed him, because Richie
the Rat.
Richie, unfortunately, it feels like that's what it is. Look, I respect Richie Williams for being a good head coach, because one day he should have been a head coach permanently. He should have just gotten out of Bruce's shadow and just gone and become a head coach. He had 2 stints of it at the Red Bulls as an interim before Bruce came, and then they went somebody else. And then all of a sudden, he's going to be a head coach, I think, at Loudoun. And then Bruce calls him and says, "Hey, Rich, you want to be part of my coaching staff?" "Okay, Bruce, I'm coming." And, it's like, look, if you didn't want to be his assistant coach anymore, you should have just said no.
Yep.
Stay in Loudoun and just be your own guy. That's what he should have done. I mean, if he had enough of what Bruce did, then he should have just said, "Bruce, I quit.
I agree.
I want to go my own way." Or say this: "I don't want to be a part of your staff. I'll take over Revs too." But that doesn't happen. So, I mean, what the hell?
Yeah, you knew it was like a really ugly situation when, after he left, then Shari goes, and Shari is like, people adore Shari Joseph. He's a legend in New England. So
Yeah, of course.
and then, the other part of this too is, and we can't continue on without saying Portland Hearts of Pine, that organization has done absolutely everything right. Have nothing bad to say about anything in Maine, opposite of Connecticut. And the product they put out, the team building, the community building, the marketing, phenomenal. Chef's kiss to Portland. They're like a secondary team for me. I love everything they're doing. But what's exciting is you have a lot of local regional soccer happening now. So you can look forward to with, if promotion relegation becomes more relevant and actually happens, you can start to look at something like a regional cup, which would be really, really great to see. Stuff like that is what really gets people excited, especially in a regional area like New England.
Mm-hmm. No, it really does. And, as much as I have my issues with the Boston fans, and that's only on the sporting level.
Yeah.
It's only on the sporting level, though. No, I have some good friends over there, too. But, I mean, look, I respect everything that Boston does over there, the history, American history, and everything else that goes on over there. I mean, I love the city as a whole. Like I said, with the sports stuff, take it or leave it. But other than that, no, I respect everything that goes on in Boston. So now, this is it. Round 4. You're hosting the big boys, the Revolution, at the brand new stadium. Now, for those of us not familiar, what is the new stadium name? Is it Rhode Island Stadium, or is it a new sponsor for the stadium?
Yep. So they released the naming rights to the stadium. The announcement just came like a week and a half ago, I believe. Centerville Bank Stadium. Centerville Bank is a local bank in Rhode Island. They've been very close, a good partner for Rhode Island FC since the inaugural season with their name on one of the armbands, and local community-driven company. So it's a really good partnership. I really, really wish, and a lot of others wish, they had kept Tidewater Landing in the name. So Centerville Bank Stadium, rather, at Tidewater Landing. They did not do that. That's a big letdown, but that's okay. I think a lot of us OGs, us sons of Rogers, are going to call it Tidewater Landing anyways. So, but yeah, and it's going to be beautiful. I mean, I've already been 2 or 3 times and to tour it, and they are having their open house event this coming Saturday, where they're going to kind of do a trial run for ticketing, concessions, parking, all this good stuff to see how it flows. It's the following weekend, we open it up for our home opener against SAFC. 3 days later, we welcome the New England Revolution and all of their lovely fans to come down so they get to experience what it's like to play in a soccer-specific stadium in New England for the first time.
Have there been jealous remarks towards Rhode Island right now?
Jealous? I don't know about. I don't think they would admit to jealousy. I think it's the war of the trolls, and I am one of the trolls. Proudly.
At least you admit it.
No, proudly, very self-aware. It's for me. So it's going to be a wonderful match. There's a lot of questions on what Caleb Porter is going to do, on what type of team he puts on the pitch, if he does some rotation, if he's going to prioritize the regular season games over the Open Cup, or is he going to come into Tidewater Landing and try to shut the mouths of all the Rhode Islanders, put out some of his A team and end the game, right? For me, it's the culture war. It's the soccer culture war, and I want Rhode Island to win that war. So I want all of the New England Revolution fans to come and see what a supporter culture looks like in New England. I want them to see a beautiful soccer-specific stadium and what type of environment that can bring, rather than playing in an empty NFL stadium up in Foxborough, Massachusetts. That's what it's about for me.
And the musket has now been dropped.
Yep.
Look at that. Unbelievable. Yep. Well, you have every right to talk. You got every right to back it up, and we'll see what happens for Rhode Island, and hopefully they'll get out of the hole currently. As I said, you're right now 5 matches in this year, 4 points only, currently in 10th in the Eastern Conference of USL Championship. But once again, it's still early this season, and there's still plenty of time to fix things up and climb back over the playoff line. So we'll see what happens with Rhode Island FC and Conno Smith. But anyway, Kevin, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming back to the show. And I'm very happy now that you've been on it, so that, everyone in Rhode Island FC that supports the club, they know that they have a home here whenever they want to come and talk about the club. And hopefully we'll get some more going on here with Rhode Island FC during the season. But good luck in the fourth round of the Open Cup, and good luck with the rest of the season in USL Championship. And thank you very much for joining me tonight.
Thank you for your time, Daniel. Appreciate it. As always, up the tide.
Up, there you go. And that's once again Kevin Callahan, as he joins us here on the 46 Fire American Soccer Show. And we're going to move now on to local stuff. We're going to now bring in, as I did on my last show, talking about the New York Red Bulls, as this will also be locally Red Bull discussion, as always, like the last show. So here we go now. And as you can see, it was a loss in the derby, in the Atlantic Cup derby between the Red Bulls and DC United. 2 goals by João Pedro in the 35th and 44th minute. The brand new threat to the Red Bulls from DC United. And, what can you say? Unfortunately, backline fell asleep, especially with both Tim Parker and Alexander Hack. Mostly Tim Parker. I thought he had him very well defensively, and Pedro all of a sudden just heads the ball towards goal, makes I have to admit, beautiful spin move, and got to the ball and beats Carlos Coronel to make it 1-0 in the 35th minute. And then an amazing bicycle kick in the 44th minute to make it 2-0. And then early in the second half, nice assist by Emil Forsberg to Eric Maxime Choupo-Moting, and with a little help from the back line of DC United, but it was going on frame, and so he gets credit for his goal, his 4th of the season, in the 57th minute. But then nothing else happened over there. Now, there's something I want to explain something here that happened in the match. Now, originally from the broadcast, it said that Alexander Hack got yellow carded in the 72nd minute because even though there was a foul before what he did with Dominic Badji, where he was trying to get the ball high boot and he did knock Badji down with a high boot, obviously it was by accident, didn't mean for it to happen. The yellow card came out, and I thought he yellowed Aaron Herrera, then he yellowed Alexander Hack afterwards, but apparently that did not happen. Apple's MLS season pass score bug, when the score disappeared, the yellow card came out and it had Hack's name on it, and I even had it on the match tracker later on when I checked it. And then when Hack got booked for the blow up with Badji in the 88th minute, I'm like, why hasn't he been sent off? I mean, did the referee not book him in the 72nd minute? And I went back to the match tracker and I'm like, no, he did. Why is he still out there? And then later on, I went back to the match tracker after the match ended, and then it disappeared. So I guess what happened was the yellow card never came out for Alexander Hack because there was a foul that happened before Hack took down Badji, and they took it off the match tracker. So thankfully, Alexander Hack did not get second yellowed, did not get sent off, and there was an error and it was fixed. So good thing about that. Overall for the Red Bulls, though, this was a very poor match. They should have done better. They should have done much, much better. I think what happened was, and this is part of my thinking, when Christian Benteke injured himself in the match and he had to be subbed out, I think that lowered their expectations of the match, and it shouldn't have. It's a derby match. It's a rivalry. The oldest rivalry in MLS. Red Bulls, DC United. You cannot excuse yourself from this. And they were very poor. And even though they fixed themselves in the second half, it just wasn't good enough the entire match. The entire 90 minutes was absolutely terrible, absolutely disgusting. They did not deserve to win the match. They didn't even deserve, if they even drew the match, they didn't deserve it. So now the Red Bulls are on a 2-match winless streak. They're going to be home this upcoming Saturday against Club de Foot Montreal, and that'll be a 4:30 p.m. start time on MLS Season Pass. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, the New York Red Bulls fall to DC United by a final of 1-2. And that, my friends, is that. And unfortunately, just not good enough for the Red Bulls. And even Sandro admitted was not good enough at all. But other than that, tomorrow night, we're going to have another show. We're going to have on the head coach of Union Omaha in Dominique. Trying to remember how you pronounce his last name. Oh, my goodness. I'll get it, I promise. But, it's just one of those things where he was supposed to come on my Open Cup show. He was supposed to come on my Open Cup show Friday to review. Unfortunately, it was too late, but that's okay. Couldn't make it then, but he's coming on tomorrow night. And that will be Dominic Casiato, the head coach of Union Omaha. He'll be joining me tomorrow night, standalone interview. But, it's just amazing to have these managers, not just in MLS, not just in USL Championship, but in USL League One, to come on this show and to have them talk about their club, because we want to inform you, not just the local listeners from those clubs, but to all of you that want to hear what he needs to say about his club and, what's going on in the representative league that their club are in. So it's exciting, it's fun, and I cannot wait to have him on tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. I want to thank my guests tonight, Kaylor Hodges from the Hammering Down podcast, James Knowles of RBLR Sports on the Tampa Bay Rowdies, and now Kevin Callahan from the Defiance 1636 supporters group talking about Rhode Island FC. My name is Daniel Feuerstein. Thank you very much for watching this tonight. I hope all of you had fun. I hope all of you enjoyed it. And join me once again tomorrow night. And as always, please, please enjoy your football. Thank you. Take care. So long and have a good night. Bye-bye for now. Have a good night, everybody.